Hey everybody, this is your Digital Super Saiyan 3 back here with another video, and well, I decided to do some reviews of a couple of Disney Channel original movies for October, since it's around that time of Halloween, or we're in the Halloween season, and I figured this is the first movie I actually wanted to review for Halloween. And one I've been thinking about doing for a while now, and that is Phantom of the Megaplex from 2000. When it comes to the Disney Channel original movies, this one was the first one to come into my head about doing a review of. When it comes to the Disney Channel original movies. Anyway, the film stars Taylor Handley, Caitlin Walks, Mickey Rooney, Corinne Bohair, Jacob Smith, Rich Hutchman, Colin Fox, and a boatload of others. So, there's this legend going back centuries about an old movie theater that was constructed in 1929, but then was torn down, and then made way for a much bigger, much larger megaplex that is much bigger than the old movie theater ever was. And the legend goes that there was a soul that was trapped in the deconstruction of the old theater to make way for this big theater. And the film, we're introduced to our main character named Pete Riley, played by Taylor Handley. And Pete is a 17-year-old boy, who works at the movie theater as the assistant manager of this film. Yes, or as the assistant manager to the theater, I meant to say. So, yeah, a 17-year-old as an assistant manager. So, okay. He basically introduces us to some of the staff members in this movie. As, he narrates. He mentions the likes of Terry, played by Julia Chanteray, who's given the nickname Scary Terry. Rick Maybe, who plays Ricky. Ricky Maybe, who plays the role of Ricky. One of the other guys who's in the theater, who works at the theater with Pete. As well as talking about Movie Mason, played by none other than the legendary Mickey Rooney. And all throughout the movie, Mickey Rooney seemed to be having fun with this character of Movie Mason. That he's just an old-timer who loves movies, despite the fact that, he grew up around the old theater as well. As I think he was... Stupid paper. Okay. And we are then introduced to Pete's manager, Sean McGibbons, played by Rich Hutchman. Hutchman? Yeah, Rich Hutchman. Who holds a staff meeting to talk about this premiere of a movie called Midnight Mayhem that is going to be premiering at the theater, and it's got to be big because the owner of the theater, Mr. Niedermeyer, played by Colin Fox, will be visiting, as well will be attending the premiere along with the makers of the film. So, Pete is the working man of the family. Basically, his father is no longer around. And, as a 17-year-old, he's the man of the house. He's the one who's working. We also meet Pete's siblings in this movie. First is Karen Riley, his younger sister, played by Caitlin Walks. And, of course, his brother Brian Riley, played by Jacob Smith, and their mother Julie Riley, played by Corinne Boher. Boher? And yes, their mother is dating a new guy, is dating this guy that she's been going out with for a while. Anyway, I also got to talk about other parts of the staff I forgot to mention. About the other members of the staff. There was Hillary, Lacey. There was Hillary and Lacey, who got the name Honey Hillary and Racy Lacey. And then there was Mervyn, who was the projection, who's their lead projectionist, who's their lead projection handler. Mervyn, I believe his name was Mervyn. Anywho, Pete also had invited a girl that he's crazy for to the premiere by the name of Caitlin, who's supposed to be the love interest. She doesn't get really much screen time, and all this time she surrounds herself with her girlfriend, and of course she hangs around this jerk-ass bully who has a rivalry with Pete by the name of Donnie. And Donnie has sort of this rivalry picking on Pete, despite the fact that he never worked a day in his life, and Pete is the assistant manager at a movie theater. Yeah. Anyway, the staff began to come short-handed once many decided not to show up for the premiere, to show up to work their shift for the premiere. And Movie Mason is also someone who actually thinks he works at the movie theater, but really doesn't. You know, he ends up being a ticket handler for the day, only for that to go awry for Sean to just say, "You're out of here, Mason. If you ever show up, I will call the police." Now, let's talk about Sean for a second. Yes, he's kind of this asshole manager that also tends to not care about other people's opinions and thinks he's so high and mighty. Stupid paper. It must be that fan. Ugh, this damn fan. Okay. So, all throughout this movie theater, there had been strange going-ons during the night of the premiere, as a candy machine was sabotaged, a popcorn machine was sabotaged, the projectors in different theaters had been running all wild. And Pete, our everyman in this story, is busy trying to deal with all of this. And of course, we learn that there's a phantom on the loose. Yes. Hence the antagonist of the film, the Phantom of the Megaplex, is continuing to ruin the premiere, will do anything to ruin this premiere by any means, as he's constantly sabotaging theater property and, well, not only sabotaging theater property, but wants to make sure that the premiere does not go off without a hitch. And all throughout the night, Karen and Brian, who are Pete's siblings, they went to the movies just to see a movie, and they also end up having to help Pete solve the mystery as Pete decides, okay, I guess I am going to need your guys' help. Throughout this movie, the one character who definitely goes through the most growth is our main protagonist, Pete, as it is his story, as he has to learn to lighten up and accept the fact that, even though he may be the working man in the house, he's still just a kid and still has a life ahead of him. Despite the fact that Pete himself works for the cold, hard cash. So, as we get to the finale of the movie, as Midnight Mayhem is being played, we see a bunch of inflations go off in the theater that it was supposed to play out. Pete grabs this sword from a display and pops a ginormous dinosaur inflatable, and then of course gets into a fight with the Phantom, as they both are fighting until they both pop out of the screen, and Pete then unmasks the Phantom, only for it to be revealed to be Sean. Why did Sean sabotage the theater? Because of the fact that he wanted his boss, Mr. Needlemeyer, to acknowledge him, because he wanted respect. Because he wanted the general manager's position, but Needlemeyer gave it to another guy instead of him. And then he wanted to promote Sean to the manager of the theater, or he wanted to promote Pete, not Sean, because Sean's the villain. He wanted to promote Pete to the manager of the theater, but Pete declined the offer, but still ended up learning a lesson about lightening up, and ends up taking the girl he is crazy about out on a date after the movie. So, yeah, that was Phantom of the Megaplex. Final thoughts? It was a really crazy movie. I don't think it was a terrible movie. I mean, I liked the set of the movie theater. I love the way the movie theater is designed for the main set of this movie, since the main setting of the movie is a giant movie theater. And, of course, it combines elements from both Phantom of the Opera and elements from a Scooby-Doo episode. In fact, lots of this movie's humor is kind of derived from an episode of Scooby-Doo. So it's like they took Scooby-Doo and Phantom of the Opera, as well as Goosebumps, and tossed them into a blender. And you get this movie. Well, it's mainly Phantom of the Opera and Scooby-Doo that was pretty much thrown into a blender. Not Goosebumps. Why did I think Goosebumps? I don't know. But yeah, Phantom of the Megaplex may not have been the most complex movie, but it did have its moments here and there, and I don't think it was a completely bad movie. Sure, I would say it would be a middle-of-the-road kind of movie. So, in a sense, I give it a 6.5 out of 10. 6.5 out of 10 for this movie. I mean, the main characters I mostly liked were Pete and his siblings, and yes, even Movie Mason was really good, and Mickey Rooney, I bet, was having a lot of fun doing this movie. So yeah, that was Phantom of the Megaplex, like I said. Anyway, this has been your Digital Super Saiyan 3, and I'll see you next time when I review another Disney Channel original movie for October. See ya!